Okay, this is week 6, unit 5.0. Um, and the Viva question is, who were the Native Americans? And the Native Americans were terribly stereotyped nowadays, very vicious, and great at agriculture. They were like one of the first few big cities and civilizations to be really into that and know what they were doing. Nowadays, people only think of Pocahontas as the Indians and as the first group of Indians that were at Plymouth Rock, the ones that helped the ones that helped the Pilgrims, and that the Indians always gave back to the earth and were super, respectful. And not that they weren't. It's just that's the only thing that people think the Native Americans were good at and that they did. But they're also very vicious and violent. Like, they had lots of human sacrifices, especially in the Incan civilization. They rarely had anything but child sacrifices, and one of the main ways they would sacrifice is either bounding their sacrifice to the top of the temple and tearing their heart out with a obsidian knife, and then giving the heart out to the priest and throwing the body down down the temple stairs. Or they would sacrifice multiple bodies and throw them into this big open water well that they couldn't escape, so they would just drown. And that's really what they did in the Mayan civilization. In the Incan civilization, they would sacrifice only children ages about 8 to 15, and they would fatten them up and then bring them to the top of a mountain and have them freeze to death there because they couldn't escape the mountain by themselves. And they were very agriculturally minded. They were the first type of people to create terracing and irrigation technology, and they also figured out how to grow crops in the mountains through irrigation, even though that was what they thought was impossible to other colonies and civilizations, because how are you going to get water going up? They also, in the Aztec civilization in Mexico, they also had food year-round because they figured out how to have water near them, and they always built houses in cities near water and big rivers so they could have it year-round, which meant they had crops. They had crops, birds, and fish, because the fish would live in the water and the birds would come by to eat the fish, but the Aztecs would kill the birds and then eat the fish, birds, and agriculture. And the Aztecs were super big on corn. They really knew how to grow that well. So those were the 3 main food supplies for the Aztec village and civilization. And that is what I think the Native Americans were. They were very stereotyped nowadays, very vicious, and great agriculturally.